Shalom. I want to start by giving all praise to Yahweh, Ba'asham Yahushai, Wa'aruka Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone for teaching us the scriptures, among other things. And salutations to all your Akim across the earth for doing this work in sincerity and in truth. So with that, I'm going to say Shalom. So this video, already see it, you're going to see it on the screen, I want to go into the faith, keep the faith in Yahweh, Ba'asham Yahushai. And we're heading more and more towards those horrible times that are about to come. And faith, to keep the faith in Yahweh Basham Yahushai has always been important. And but sometimes people might get in situations and even forget. Remember what happened with Peter. Yahushai was walking on water, and Yahushai told him, like, hey, grab my hand and come walk with me on the water. So first, Peter had all this faith, but then he realized that he was walking on water, and he basically he started to doubt, and then he started to sink, you know, and that's it. We got to keep in mind that with Yah, Slakia, we got to keep in mind that with Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai, nothing is impossible. And I want to jump real quick in the story of a rich man who came to Yahushua and asked what he had to do in order for him to enter into the kingdom of Yahweh Basham Yahushai. So Yahushai told him, like, okay, you got to honor your father and your mother, respect them, keep the law, statutes, and commandments, and he said, yeah, I'll be doing all those things. Then Yahushua looked at him and told him, like, okay, then sell everything that you got and follow after me. And then he walked away with his head down, and because he had much riches, he had all this wealth, and he couldn't put it away. He really had feelings for that, and that's something that a lot of people got. They got all these possessions, all this stuff, and they feel a lot for it, and so he couldn't do that, so he walked away with his head down. And disciples were looking at that, and they were very amazed. So this is the book of Matthew, chapter 19, verse 28. And no, first, Slakia, verse 25. When his disciples heard it, they were exceedingly amazed, saying, who then can be saved? So they were like, oh, he's keeping all this, he's keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, he's being a so-called God-fearing man, they call it, So, and they're like, oh, and he can make it. He can't make it to enter into the kingdom of Yahweh Basham Yoshai. So they were like amazed, like, oh, who can? It sounded impossible to them. When the disciples heard it, they were exceedingly amazed, saying, who then can be saved? But Yahushua beheld them and said unto them, with men this is impossible, but with Yahweh all things are possible. And that's a very important thing to keep in mind, especially for the things that are waiting ahead for us. We got to keep in mind that with the Most High, Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai, nothing is impossible. Even the book of Sirach explains us that. There are many stories. Daniel and the lion's den. And I want to go into another story, which is also a very beautiful story, and I'm about to go in that also in a minute. So let me jump real quick to the book of Sirach, chapter 2 and 10. Look at the generations of old and see, did ever any trust in the Most High and was confounded? Or did any abide in his fear and was forsaken? On whom did he ever despise that call upon him? Don't forget, look what Job went through. The Most High basically did a bet with Satan, and he told him, like, hey, he's not gonna forsake me. He's gonna keep his integrity. He will not curse me. And Job had all these riches before he went through all those things. But the Most High blessed him even more afterwards. When he went through all that. When he suffered everything. So let me see. Yeah. So this is a very beautiful story, and I say that yes, just a very beautiful story, and I'm basically just gonna read. I don't know if I'm gonna read the whole chapter, but it's a very beautiful. I'm just gonna read it, man. So this is the book of Second Maccabees, chapter 7:1. It came to pass also that seven brethren with their mother were taken and compelled by the king against the law to taste swine flesh, and were tormented with scourges and whips, because in that time it was not allowed, like in slavery, it was not allowed for our people to speak our own language. Yeah, back then we were speaking the Hebrew, but I mean, like in slavery, we were learning all those new languages, all those customs that we had. If you watch the series Roots, it will show you, especially the old one, it will show you how they would capture us and give us new names. All those things. We have to follow the Edomites' custom. Basically, let us eat pork, because yeah, you had nothing more to eat, and even the on the islands they got the so-called delicacies going on, with the pig feet and the snouts and the ears, and the tail, the leftovers, man. But yeah, uh, but one of them that speak first said thus, "What wouldst thou ask or learn of us? We are ready to die rather than to transgress the laws of our fathers." And that's very beautiful. That's very beautiful. Then the king, being in a rage, commanded pans and cauldrons to uh, to be made hot, which forthwith being heated, he commanded to cut out the tongue of him that spake first, and to cut off the uttermost parts of his body. The rest of his brethren and his mother looking on. Now, when he was thus maimed in all his members, he commanded him, being yet alive, to brought to the fire, and to be fried in the pan. And as the vapor of the pan was for a good space dispersed, they exhorted one another with the mother to die manfully, saying thus, "The Lord Yahweh looketh upon us, and in truth hath comfort in us, as Moses in his song, which witness to their faces declared, saying, and he shall be comforted in his servants." So when the first was dead, after this manner they brought the second to make him a mocking stock. And when they had pulled off the skin of his head with the hair, they asked him, "Wilt thou eat before thou be punished throughout every member of thy body?" But he answered in his own language and said, "No." Wherefore he also received the next torment in order as the former did. And don't forget, the Most High can put it might seem for people that they got you, but the Most High, he can even take the spirit away or even make you feel nothing, on that moment. And you see how wicked, hey, these Edomites, man. And when he was at the last gasp, he said, "Thou like a fury takest us out of this present life, but the King of the world shall raise us up, who have died for his laws, unto everlasting life." After him was the third made a mocking stock, and when he was required, he put out his tongue, and that right soon, holding forth his hand manfully. So he was ready to be chopped up, and said courageously, "These I had from heaven, and for his laws I despised them, and for him I hope to receive them again." Insomuch that the king, they that were with him, marveled at the young man's courage, for that he nothing regarded the pains. Now when this man was deaf, also they tormented and mangled the fourth in like manner. So when he was ready to die, he said thus, it is good, being put to death by men, to look for hope from Yahweh, to be raised up again by him, As for thee, thou shalt have no resurrection to live. Afterwards, they brought the fifth also and mangled him. Then looked he unto the king and said, Thou hast power over men, thou art corruptible. Thou dost what thou wilt, yet think not that our nation is forsaken of Yahweh. So, you got to realize this. This king was getting real angry because he's being mocked all the time. But every brother that he was torturing and forcing him to eat the swine flesh, to forsake the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High, they were mocking him. All those things that they were doing, they were mocking him. Verse 16. Then looked he unto the king and said, Thou hast power over men, thou art corruptible. Thou dost what thou wilt, yet think not that our nation is forsaken of Yahweh, but abide a while, and behold his great power, how he will torment thee and thy seed. You see this? So he basically put a curse on him. After him also they brought the sixth, who being ready to die said, Be not deceived without cause, for we suffer these things for ourselves, having sinned against our power. Therefore marvelous things are done unto us. But think not thou that takest in hand to strive against Yahweh, that thou shalt escape unpunishment. Yeah, like the scripture said, the wicked shall not go unpunished. Look at the Edomites nowadays. You think this? You see, and even our people, the 2/3, seem them doing all these wicked things. Don't think that they will get away with it. But the mother was marvelous above all, and worthy of honorable memory. For when she saw her 7 sons slain with the space of 1 day, she bare it with a good courage, because of the hope that she had in the Lord. Yes, she exhorted every one of them in her own language, filled with courage spirits, and stirring up her womanish thoughts with a manly stomach. She said unto them, I cannot tell how you came into my womb, for I neither gave you breath nor life, neither was it I that formed thy members of every one of you, but doubtless the Creator of the world, who formed the generation of men and found out the beginning of all things, will also of his own mercy give you breath and life again, as you now regard not your own selves for his law's sake. Now Antiochus, thinking himself despised and suspecting it to be a reproachful speech, while the youngest was yet alive, did not only exhort him by words, but also assured him with oaths that he would make him both a rich and a happy man if he would turn from the law of his fathers, and that also he would take him for his friend and trust him with affairs. But when the young man would in no case hearken unto him, the king called his mother and exhorted her that she would counsel the young man to save his life. And when he had exhorted her with many words, she promised him that she would counsel her son. But she, bowing herself towards him, laughing the cruel tyrant to scorn, speak in a country language unto this manner: O my son, have pity upon me that bare thee 9 months in my womb, and gave thee suck 3 years, and nourished thee, and brought thee up unto this age, and endured the troubles of education. I beseech thee, my son, look upon the heaven and the earth and all that is therein, and consider that Yahweh made them of things that were not, and so was mankind made likewise. Fear not this tormentor, but being worthy of thy brethren, take thy death, that I may receive thee again in mercy with thy brethren. While she was yet speaking these words, the young man said, Whom wait ye for? I will not obey the king's commandment, but I will obey the commandments of the law that was given unto our fathers by Moses. And thou that hast been the author of all mischief against the Hebrews shall not escape the hands of Yahweh. For we suffer because of our sins, and though the living Lord be angry with us a little while for our chastening and correction, yet he shall be at one again with his servants. But thou, O godless man, and of all others most wicked, be not lifted up without a cause, nor puffed up with uncertain hopes, lifting up thy hands against the servants of the Most High, for thou hast not yet escaped the judgment of the Almighty Power, who seeth all things. For our brethren, who now have suffered a short pain, are deaf under Yahweh's covenant of everlasting life, but thou, through the judgment of Yahweh, shalt receive just punishment for thy pride. But I, as my brethren, offer up my body and life for the laws of our fathers, beseeching Yahweh that he would speedily be merciful unto our nation, and that thou by torments and plagues mayest confess that he alone is God, and that in me and my brethren the wrath of the Almighty, which is justly brought upon all our nation, may cease. Then the king, being in a rage, so you gotta imagine this king, he's angry, he's doing all these things, so he already saw all his brothers be, tormented, being put to death on a slow death, horrible way, and he was the youngest and still had this faith. So he's like, I got all this power, but he's not respecting me, he's not falling down. Then the king, being in a rage, handled him worse than all the rest, and took it grievously that he was mocked. So this man died undefiled, and put his whole trust in Yahweh, in the Lord. Put his whole trust in the Lord. Last of all, after the sons, the mother died. Let this be enough now to have spoken concerning the idolatrous feast and the extreme tortures. So, you got to keep in mind. So you see, this mother and the 7 sons went to all these things, but until death she keep faith. So this should be an example for us, we're doing the works of Yahweh Ba'Sham Yahushai and want to abide in his faith. What we got to do is keep the faith until death. And there are many stories, you can read for yourself. There are many stories concerning faith, keeping the faith, and yeah, like I said, like Yahweh Shai said, with the Mosai, with Yahweh, nothing is impossible, So yeah, I'm going to leave it like that. So with that, I want to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'Sham Yahweh Shai, Baruch HaKodash, a double honors to the apostles and elders, great millstone, for teaching us the scriptures, among other things, and salutations to all Akim across the earth for doing his work and sincerity in the truth. So with that, I'm going to say Shalom.